Hey everyone, thank you all so much for watching and liking my rebuild video. Many of you asked questions about the cost of the project, how I learned to do all of this, how easy the car was to get insured, and many other questions. I'll be happy to answer those questions in this video and share some of my ideas for the future of this project and the channel. Stay tuned. I got the idea of rebuilding a wrecked car after watching a few people do it on YouTube. Other than simple maintenance like oil changes and brake changes, I had no prior knowledge or experience of working on cars. I learned through watching others, reading DIYs online, and good old trial and error. I knew I wouldn't be able to fix frame damage or weld on a new quarter panel, so I looked for cars that didn't have damage in those areas. With those parameters in mind, I started browsing through IAA auctions and came across this car. This is what the bidding looked like. I was on a runway about to take off and wanted to win the car before losing reception. At the time of buying this car, clean titled examples with similar mileage and options were selling for around $30,000 US. Salvage cars are usually 25 to 30% cheaper than clean titled cars, which meant in order to break even, my cost with parts and everything couldn't be more than $21,000 to $22,000. I estimated the damage to be about $5,000 in parts and added a bit of padding to that estimate in case there were hidden costs, which I found out there were a few. I ended up getting the car for $14,400. The fee for the auction was $750 and the towing cost me $350. Before I had turned a single wrench, I was already $15,500 in the hole. There was no turning back at that point. To get the car started and running, I spent about $400 on a new battery and a terminal cable. Now that the car was running, the next step was to get it to drive. I spent $700 on the suspension and another $700 on a wheel and a tire. I saved about $1,000 by fixing the hood instead of replacing it like I had initially planned because the cost was running up so quickly. The aftermarket Euro bumper, fender, underbody panels, and brackets cost me about $850. I got a used headlight from eBay with a hazy lens and a broken tab for $500, and I re-cleared the lens and fixed the tab. Some of the smaller things that added up were the nuts and bolts that got lost in the accident, a few bent or broken brackets, light bulbs, etc. Those cost me about $500. In the auction pictures, the headliner was not visible, so I didn't realize that it was ripped apart. That plus the seat belts and the window cost me about another $500. Paint was about $700 and another $100 or so was spent on aerosol cans. I spent about $750 on two throttle actuators that were shipped from the UK. Those commonly fail on these cars and I was expecting to change them eventually. Sandpaper and Bondo cost me about $300 and alignment was another $300. The windshield with OEM moldings and labor of replacing was about $500. That brings the total to right around $22,000, which was the upper end of my estimate. Had I bought a new hood and brand new OEM parts for all of the replacements, I would have definitely been way over budget. With that said, I didn't do this project for the cost savings, but rather the experience and the joy of bringing something back to life. It would be more economical and less risky to just buy a clean used car instead. If you're thinking about doing this for the cost, I would recommend against it. I've put about 10,000 miles in the past year and a half that I've been driving it. In that time, I've had just one O2 sensor go bad, and the subwoofer under the passenger seat blew, both of which were about $100 in repairs. Other than that, I've been doing regular oil changes every 5,000 miles and replacing wear items when needed. I learned the hard way to avoid steep driveways and needed to get another set of splitters, which cost me $300. I also added a little bit of bling to the interior and got larger paddles for easier shifting while turning. Now on to future plans for the car. I completely fell in love with this car the first time I drove it on a track. It has the perfect amount of power and is incredibly well balanced in the corners. Before going out on track again, I decided to change the spark plugs, air filter, and fluids to make sure the car could handle the abuse for a long time. I also changed the brake pads to endurance race pads and flushed the brake fluid with the highest boiling point I could find. I also invested in a dedicated set of track wheels and tires since the Michelins would melt and cord after 2 track days. With the car prepped and ready to go, I woke up bright and early the next day to start the 2-hour drive down to Laguna Seca Raceway. After a few warm-up laps, I was ready to push the car and managed to beat my personal best lap time by 3 seconds. If you'd like to see me try to make this car quicker, subscribe and hit the notification bell for new videos. I got a lot planned. For now, I'll leave you with the footage of my best lap of the day.